Greetings. This is the commentary and sermonette on the song Then. This is song number, I'm not sure exactly, I have to write it in above, but it's one I just now wrote. When I began recording my songs, I felt like I needed to do this, which is almost 5 years ago now. I really didn't want to write any new songs because I have so many to record, and I even said that at one point to the Lord. But it was in the middle of December here that I just hit on a little chorus, which I'll come to in a few minutes, of what was the genesis of the song, and decided I needed to do it. Now, I will say, it was probably, a few months back, I said, Lord, if I do have any more that you want me to write, I really want them to be, I say a good one, something that really is substantive to me, I guess you might say. Best way I can think of it. So, whatever song number it is, here we go. Alive, but not living. The point? My grasp evading. Answers, miss the questions. The blind, toast and vision. Hard knowing, foe from friend. Oh, I'm staggering. Over me, waves are breaking. They just keep coming. Who can help? I am descending. I am descending. I think you can see this as pre-Christian experience. The first part of this, alive and yet not living, just get in the book of Ecclesiastes and read it. As far as the point of why we're here, my grasp evading, and the philosophies of this world, they give you answers that miss the questions. And I said the blind toasting vision. Woe to those who exchange or substitute darkness for light and light for darkness. There was one point when Jesus, he was challenged by the Pharisees about his disciples defiling themselves because they didn't wash their hands before they ate. Anyway, Jesus basically scalded them, and the disciples came and said to him, "Do you know that the Pharisees were offended when they heard this statement?" But he answered, "Let them alone. They are blind guides of the blind. And if a blind man guides a blind man, both will fall into a pit." The philosophies of this world, the wisdom of this world, are the blind toasting a vision. But they're blind, and both will fall into the pit. Somehow I instinctively knew that, the blindness of others and the blindness of myself, and couldn't find any substance in this world. Oh, I'm staggering. Over me, the waves are breaking, and they just keep coming. Who can help? I am descending. I am descending. Now here's the chorus. Then comes the King from the horizon. Then comes the King on the waves, walking. Of course, he did that with the disciples on the Sea of Galilee. Then comes the King on the waves. Oh, he's walking. Then comes the King on my waves. He's walking. Saying to them, stop your roaring. Hush, be still. This one you're not getting. The waves, no match for him. Just no match for him as he quiets them. As he quiets them. This is basically from Psalm 107. As a young man, I had moved from Kansas to South Florida. I was playing the guitar and wanted to get a group together and started playing in some open mics. And I was one of those who went down to the sea in ships to do business on great waters. Well, the Lord spoke and raised up a stormy wind there in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which lifted up the waves of the sea. They rose to the heavens and they went down to the depths. Their soul, my soul, melted away in misery. They reeled and staggered like a drunken man, coming to wit's end. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and he brought them out of their distresses. He caused the storm to be still, so that the waves of the sea were hushed. Then they were glad because they were quiet, so he guided them to their desired haven. Let them give thanks to the Lord for his loving kindness, for his wonders to the sons of men. Let them extol him in the congregation of the people and praise him at the seat of the elders. In other words, tell everybody what the Lord did. think I've been doing that ever since I got saved. And I put early on in this psalm, this is where I was. So now what's happening in the song is the waves over me, waves are breaking. They just keep coming. Who can help? As I'm descending. The waves are just no match for him. As he quiets them, he quiets them. So the song gets quieter and quieter. Now I go into this section. Deceitful scheming. While in bed laying, comes the morn. The plan is action. Woe to those. This I do know, yet betrayal like never known. Like never known before. Knocked to the floor, struck to the core, bitter root from open sore. Who can help? That's now the war. That's now the war. That's now the war. That verse there is directly from being knocked down by a divorce that I was the victim of, and by God's grace have been enduring through. I may do a separate video on that sometime just to go through the entire divorce thing, primarily to reveal how the Lord helped me through that from beginning to this point, which hopefully is closer to the end. But it's mainly showing God's power and faithfulness in the midst of a difficult experience. But this comes out of Micah. Woe to those who scheme iniquity, who work out evil on their beds. When morning comes, they do it, for it is in the power of their hands. They covet fields and then seize them, and houses and take them away. They rob a man and his house, a man and his inheritance. One of the evils of this age, I've said many, many times, is that evil has the advantage of the element of surprise. We're just going along through life doing what we ought to be doing many times, and then the attack comes, but it's a well thought through, well planned out scheme against us, and we don't even see it coming sometimes. And God pronounces woes on them. The primary reason I am certain he pronounces woes is because the ability to plan is an image of God that he has shared with us. He himself planned out this creation. He plans out everything. He plans out our lives. Well, he's given us the ability to plan. And to take that crown, to take that gift and scheme iniquity while you're working it out on your bed, and then when the morning comes you do it because it's in the power of your hand to do it, is a tremendous evil that these schemers have no idea of the accountability as a moral being of defiling this image of God and what he's going to do about that. So I know, woe to those, you pronounce woe to those who scheme on their beds, and then the plan is action in the morn. So deceitful scheming, while in bed laying, comes the morn. The plan is action. Woe to those. I know there's a woe to those. This I do know, yet betrayal like never known before, like never known before. I started to say like I've never known before because Jesus has known betrayal, and his betrayal is greater than anything I'll probably ever experience because he had no fault when he got betrayed. Anyone who is the victim of a divorce isn't completely innocent in the whole ordeal. It did not happen in a vacuum. Now, Jesus, when he's betrayed, he was indeed completely blameless. But when I said knocked to the floor, struck to the core, here's the problem. Bitter root from open sore. Who can help? That's now the war. See to it that no one comes short of the grace of God, that no root of bitterness springing up causes trouble, and by it many be defiled. So I knew when this divorce thing was happening from the very beginning, the injustice of things. First of all, there's dismay or disbelief or maybe shock. Then there's anger that comes as you're trying to figure things out or work things out. Well, then what happens is you're under attack, and as the attack gets deeper and deeper, and lawyers get involved and judges get involved, and your privacy is invaded like you've never known, and you're not the perpetrator, but because you're the one that the action's being filed against you, it's like you're the evildoer. The result is that anger can start turning to bitterness. And I knew that a bitter root springing from within will defile many. And that just was not an option. That just could not be. But that's the war. That's the war. Who can help? Who can help? Because that's the war. Then comes the king from the horizon. Then comes the king through the desert riding. Then comes the king through the desert, he's riding. Then comes the king through my desert, he's riding. Bringing water that's living, his own, no desertion. Wounds must yield to his healing, bringing a new morning. This is a great verse because start out with deceitful scheming, comes the morn, the plan is action. Basically, as I entered into this, I asked the Lord, I said, are you bigger than this? Well, I knew the answer is yes, he's bigger than this divorce. Okay, then if you're bigger than this, which you are, then I ask you would make me bigger than this. And if you will do that, it will bring honor to you. And if I don't thank you now or then, I'll thank you at the judgment. I could have confidence that God is bigger than this, but he also could use this evil to discipline and or scourge me. God's big enough he can do more than one thing at a time with an event. The key is we must continue to seek the Lord. He will cause all things to work together towards good. It's motion towards good to those who continue loving God, to those who are called according to his purpose. When we enter into these things, we must be honest of where we're at, bring it to the Lord, and there is no way that I could keep myself from winding up being embittered, and I didn't even want to pretend that I could do that, but I knew the Lord could. He could make me bigger in this because he said, in the world you will have trouble, you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. And he makes us overcomers. We're more than victors through him. This is really the genesis of this song, because when I was in the midst of this, here's a passage I read. Sing to God. Sing praises to his name. Cast up a highway or build a highway for him who rides through the deserts, whose name is the Lord, and exult before him. Like leap for joy before him. That cast up a highway for him or build a highway for him who rides through the deserts. It was the picture of Jesus on that white horse riding through the desert of what I was in, through my desert. And he's approaching me, he puts his hand down, reaches down to me, and he grabs me up because he's bringing water that's living, his own, no desertion. Wounds must yield to his healing, bringing a new morning. When he talked to the woman at the well, he said, everyone who drinks of this water that she's getting will thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water I shall give him shall never thirst, but the water that I shall give him shall become in him a well of water springing up to eternal life. And she said, Sir, evermore give me this drink. Give me this water, so I'll not be thirsty. Now, that is already in us. And it's a matter of coming to God and allowing that fountain to spring up. I can't make it spring up, but allowing it to spring up. And it's like, Lord, you're in me, and it's a well of water. And he compares his word to water. So this was an encouragement that he's riding through the desert. And he's coming to get me. And these wounds must yield to his healing, bringing a new morning. This is a phenomenal verse, I tell you. I'm real happy about it. Well, then I get quieter and quieter and quieter, because see, now that's all stilled as well. The waves stilled when I got saved. Now, like this event or other events that you will have in life, he'll still those things as he's taught us and brings us through it. And by the way, I approach these things saying, Lord, I don't want to get out of this a minute earlier than I should, so I can learn everything you want me to learn. But I also don't want to stay in it a minute longer either. You lead us and guide us. You go before us. You're also our rear guard. And when we're being attacked, depending what your plan is for our life, is how far those waves are going to come. It's like, I don't know what you have going forward for me, Lord. I have no idea how long you want me to live and what you want me to do. But whatever resources I'm going to need, or whatever help I'm going to need, or whatever I'm going to need, you'll say to those waves, you can come so far and no further. You'll put a barrier there, bars of iron where it cannot come any further. That's why those waves are not going to get this one. And that includes as we're going through life and the waves of this life. Well, I get quiet again, and now I come into the last verse. Mortality knocking, making dust again. Fruit of my sin. Complaining can't in light of them. Relentless, it's pursuing. Why should any living mortal or any man offer complaint in view of his sins? Let us examine and probe our ways, and let us return to the Lord. Mortality knocking, making dust again, fruit of my sin. Complaining can't in light of them. Relentless, it's pursuing. Mortality's pursuing. Slow is my understanding, that to dust I am returning. Don't know how, don't know when, but to dust I'm descending. I don't like the idea I'm going to die. I don't like the idea I'm getting older. Just yesterday, I didn't realize this is the first time I saw that this finger doesn't go straight out anymore. This one does. That one doesn't. I'm descending. I don't care how well we live. The laws of this age and environment we're in is pulling us back to this dirt. So I get quieter because I'm descending. Of them comes the King from the horizon. Then comes the King in flashing lightning. Then comes the King, oh, in flashing lightning, then comes the King. And I put in here riding flashing lightning. He's on a white horse, and it's going to come like the lightning as from the east is to the west. He's coming with his holy 10,000s. That's from Jude. Calling me to ride with them. Don't you know the saints are going to judge the world? Don't you know the saints we're also going to judge angels? His will delivering. When he comes back, is for judgment. Those that are Christians are going to be riding with him. His will delivering, because we're going to be judging. Now, backing up just a minute, to say slow is my understanding about this mortality thing. I was talking to a fellow, actually from Saudi Arabia, a couple of weeks ago, and he was comparing all the religions. They're basically the same because they all teach heaven or hell, or most of them do, something about hell and judgment and all that. And I said, well, I said, I don't want to pretend that I'm somehow more intelligent or super spiritual, but I said, the resurrection of Jesus Christ is what sets him apart from all the rest of this. Not Christianity and the Christian religion. The person of Jesus Christ is what I'm interested in. And I went through how, when I began looking into the Bible, that when I got into the end of Matthew, that this guy said that Jesus rose from the dead. And I said, what? Who is this? Well, then I looked at the end of Mark, Luke, and John. They're all saying the same thing. So who are these guys that wrote this? Are they real people? Is this a valid witness that they are to something that happened? And as the first time an inkling came on about this resurrection from the dead, and I got to a point of, well, if he indeed rose from the dead, that's authority that no one else has, and I'd be willing to listen to him, not some preacher that tells me I'm a sinner and that I'm going to hell, because I didn't know if sin was a concept from God or just a religious word that people have made up in concept to make you feel guilty to give money to their organization and their church or whatever they got going on. So that's where I told him I was at. But I said the resurrection itself doesn't register with us, because God has said he put eternity in our heart where we don't really understand that we're going to die. When Lazarus was in Abraham's bosom in paradise, I told him, the rich man said, send him back to warn my 5 brothers of this. If he comes back from the dead, they'll be persuaded. And Abraham said, no, they have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them, because they won't be persuaded even though someone rises from the dead. I've written on this quite a bit, that I can prove in less than a minute that people don't understand they're going to die. And this is how I do it. The claim of Jesus being dead and rising from the dead, have you ever really looked into that? See, if you understood you were going to die, and you even heard that somebody may have risen from the dead, you'd drop everything to go look into that and find out if that was true, if it's a fraud, and if it was true, then how you could get on that train. When you say, yeah, Jesus rose from the dead, most people kind of raise an eyebrow. It's like, what have you been smoking? So people don't understand that they're going to die. And I'll be the first to say, slow is my understanding that to dust I am returning. Don't know how, don't know when, but to dust I am descending. I am descending. So then I conclude where I just say, so whatever grief this life keeps bringing, this he's teaching, and this I'm learning. I said at one point, this I think I'm learning. That when darkness is surrounded, then comes my King from the horizon. Then comes my King on the waves he's walking. Then comes my King through the desert he's riding. Then comes my King in flashing light. Yep, that's it. That's who he is. That's who he is. For he himself has said, I will never desert you, nor will I ever forsake you. Literally, that's saying, no, never you, I might leave. Like it's a hypothetical, but it's never going to happen because it's a subjunctive there. Nor, not, never, you, might I forsake. Again, it's another subjective. It's like bringing forth a possible scenario, but it's not going to happen because he uses a double negative the first time that he's not going to leave, and then he uses a triple negative the next time of a greater impact of intensity that he will never forsake, or could also be translated leave in a place or situation. No, not never you might I leave in a place or situation. We're not going to be left in whatever this world throws at us. We can't be left in it. By the grace and power of God, we can endure, persevere, and work through it and come out a better vessel for him than when we went in. It's testing and it's trying and it's burning away trash to where we're more and more like Jesus Christ. Brethren, sisters, brothers, whoever's hearing me, in this world we're going to have trouble. But be of good cheer. He has overcome this world, and you put this before him and you ask for power to become bigger than that. He can make you that way. He's done it for me. He's doing it for me. He's going to do it for me. And he's not going to leave us in these situations or circumstances. He's going to pull us through, and he'll burn junk out of us, and we're going to be more useful to him when we get through. Well, anyway, gosh, I love this song. I love the lyrics, and I hope you do too. And I appreciate you listening. This is a long one. The song's long. The video here is long, I'm sure, but you've spent your time in worse ways, I believe. Because I know that if you will listen to these matters, you're going to learn great and mighty things. Because I have. And I am. I'm not any different than you. And when we learn, listen, gain in these matters, we will indeed be alive and living. How you doing? Oh, fine. Something for December 28th, isn't it? Something for December 28th. It is. I know, it's going to rain. That's why I got out here to do this.